why you don't probably want to get an unweaned parrot unless you know what you're doing and you really know how to feed. Hey guys, I'm Kaylin, the author of the Parrot Bliss Bond, available on Amazon. Get your copy so you know how to create a blissful bond with your parrot. And back here is Ale. One of the things that Ale and I do almost every day is we go for a walk. He likes coming out, he likes seeing everything. And when I got him, he was clipped, white crowned Pioneer parrot. So it works out well because, you know, it's just easy. If you are already used to hanging out, thanks for being here. I love you guys. If you're already a member, yay! You're already getting some videos that are exclusive, and I've uploaded 2 from my mentor. I just have to check, do any description, and then I'm going to publish them. So I'm very excited about that. If you're thinking about becoming a member, if you are doing like Mac or I think actually any phone, you have to put your phone in the computer setting so that you can hit the join. It's kind of crazy. It doesn't show like on mobile, so that's kind of a problem. But if you just go up to your preferences, you should be able to select instead of seeing everything. And you do have to do Safari. Go to Safari and then switch and see it not through your iPhone, but like a regular desktop. Then next to where it generally says subscribe with the logo, it also will say join. I hope you guys consider joining. Oh, did you just see that butterfly fly by? That was really cool. All right, let's get started. So when I was first interested in getting a parrot, my husband was like, you know, here's the thing, if you get a baby, you'll be able to bond more. And there is a lot of truth to that. However, if you get a baby, you have to make sure either that they're weaned or that they're really eating enough on their own, because otherwise you have to feed them. Here's the thing about babies. I think everywhere and anywhere, no matter where you live, you see wild birds. When you notice the wild birds in the spring, you might notice 2 flying together. One is usually behind the other, and it's not necessarily that it's the couple. One of the things that happens is the one behind, especially if it's a little smaller, just a little, they're about the right same size, and they're feathered. They're fully feathered, they're flying, but that's the baby following the mom, asking the mom to feed him or her, and the mom's like, oh, I'm trying to teach you how to find food for yourself. So it's a process. One of the things that happens is that a baby, it's really interesting, they kind of do this because they swallow by kind of like jumping their necks and I don't know how else to describe that. That is how a baby parrot, when you're feeding it, swallows its food. If you're giving it a spoon, you know, it comes down the spoon into their mouth, but they kind of chug it down. Same thing if you're doing a syringe, or, you know, because you're intubating. Of course, it's not a syringe with the needle. It has a hose, and hopefully a long one, so that you don't have any problems. And you have to know what you're doing, because it doesn't matter what you use to feed the baby. You want to make sure that it doesn't go down the wrong pipe, because that'll be the end of your baby. We breathe air. Parrots also breathe air, not food. You know how that goes. So they chug. And then just like a human baby, all of a sudden, at some point, you kind of see that like they're kind of looking at the food. Before it was, they didn't even notice food. And then all of a sudden they're like, what's that? Then they come up, you know, and they try to chug on maybe their wood chips. That means they're hungry and they should be fed. Or if there's like a cardboard box or a bin or something, you know, they try to kind of chug on whatever it is. So it's kind of cute. And at that point, they're starting to play with eating something other than what mom and dad are feeding them, sort of thing. But it's this process. A parrot has to go from chugging and just sitting there and being fed, crying to be fed, or doing a different cry that's kind of like, thank you for feeding me, while they're being fed. It's really cute. To when they're eating, now they have to like pick at the food, and they have to do a totally different thing with their mouth. Instead of chugging, they have to start to take their upper mandible and lower mandible, and like they kind of go side to side and crunch the food, mash it up. So instead of chugging the food down, now they're going to start to mash. So something has to trigger, something has to change, and it doesn't just change. There is a progression that occurs where they go from the chugging to starting to, be like interested in food, starting to mash up the food. It's a very different thing. And then on top of that, the other thing that doesn't happen overnight that really overlaps is they're being fed, and like 100% of the food is coming from parents, and then there's less and less, and it overlaps, and it's like no food is being fed for themselves, and then there's this gradual change with a total long overlap where the parents are feeding them. For example, a macaw parrot that in the wild is with its parents, it's going to stay with its parents probably until it's about sexually mature, which is like 3 to 5 years. And at 3 years, the parents probably aren't really feeding it anymore, but they might. At 1 year, the parents aren't feeding it much anymore, but they are. So, a macaw is kind of like the other end of the spectrum. Okay, total interruption. My husband just called, so I had to answer the phone. All right, so it's this progression. One of the reasons, one thing that's kind of warmed my heart is I've talked to a couple of breeders, because I'm hand feeding some African gray babies, and the owner, he wants to get them back. They're going to be in his house, and of course. And they're so cute. And the African grays sound like dinosaurs. I have hand fed a lot of different species of parrots, and they are the most dinosaur sounding. It's so cool. And the caiques, they're the most, cute sounding, so cute. I just uploaded a video yesterday of the caiques, so you can kind of hear them there if you want, but of hand feeding them. But anyway, so cute. So, the owner wants to get them back, as well he should, if I were him, I would want them back too. And I'm like, they're not eating yet. He's like, are they eating on their own? I'm like, they haven't even started, because it's just this long progression. So, one thing that's warmed my heart is I asked some of the people, this is the first time I'm feeding grays, I asked some breeders around when do African grays wean, and they're like 3 to 4 months, and they're like, but I don't push it. I'm like, yeah, I don't either. Why? Because pushing it is actually, like, you think that you get them out and more independent sooner and faster, but that's actually not true. What happens is you push them out and you show them that they can't have the support they need, they can't have the physical food from their parents that they need, they're not getting the love and caring that they need. So I was thrilled to hear a couple of the breeders that are like, I don't push them. I don't either. My macaws, sometimes I still feed them, and now they're like 3 years old. And actually one of them, she's like, eh. And this is what happens. The parrots, like, you bring the baby food and they're like, they almost give you this look like, what are you offering me? Huh, Ale? Sometimes I still feed Ale. He's not quite a year old. He can totally go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days by himself. It's not about whether or not they can fully feed themselves. Although my African grays are nowhere near that. I say the ones that I'm feeding, but it's about making sure that they really can feed themselves, but that they're like really ready and prepared to be on their own, to be in a situation where they are really ready to survive. It's kind of like taking a baby that you've started to feed, and at 2 being like, okay, you can eat on your own. There's the front door. Bye. No, right? No. I still feed my 16-year-old daughter. Not like, open up wide. No, of course not. But you still provide things, and, and 16, obviously. But you get my point. My point is, if you get an unweaned parrot, really get some good training to make sure that you can feed them, or be patient. I know it sucks being patient. I don't like that. I love hand feeding, and it's different because I do it, but you know, you just can't wait to have your baby and bond with them. I so get it. But seriously, it can make a really, really big difference in your parrot's well-being and your parrot's independence. Because when a parrot has been loved and provided with food appropriately, and with the food when they still wanted it, they've been made to feel like everything they want shows up. And that makes for a happier, healthier parrot. Particularly with our green cheek conures, we've noticed that the green cheek conures that have hatched with us and then grown up and had babies, they are sweeter parents and they're really good parents. The ones that we got, you know, as adults or as babies, usually babies, but a weaned baby kind of thing, it's not quite the same. They're not quite as sweet. They're not as nice to us when we go in their nest box and stuff. And they aren't quite as good of parents. That's not 100% true, but there is some truth to that. So when you really let the baby be fully well cared for and really set up properly, you also really let them wean at their own pace. And when you get a fully weaned baby, offer it some baby food, you know, maybe just on a spoon. Maybe don't do anything. Don't like force it, because if they're eating on their own, they don't have to have you feed them. But if you offer them a spoon and they want to take it, they do. And if they don't, they don't. And that way you're sure that they feel like you're providing, you care, and you have a weaned baby that's already in great shape. So wonderful. I think it sets you up for a lot more probable success in creating that bond and in having one of the best friends you'll probably have in your life. Thank you for joining me in this baby blissful video. We will catch you next time. Make sure to post below if your parrot is stressed out for any reason. Try Tink's must-have parrot relief. It is CBD in hemp oil, available at parrotbliss.com. And then I will catch you next time.